carry the drums to. They say
Troubles out. Got you all clapping and tapping and tapping and tapping and tapping and tapping and tapping.
First, a drum set.
B5 come to the travels on the drum. B5 come to the travels on the drum. B5 come to the travels on the drum. B5 come to the travels on the drum.
Good evening and welcome to the Do the Math podcast. I'm your host Devin Morgan, and alongside me this evening is the world famous Grammy nominated self-proclaimed album cut assassin, blap architect, Seattle's own, and real Seahawk fan, not like you pre 2002, 2003 cats, my man Jake One.
What's up, man?
What's
Thanks
up,
for
man?
having me.
For sure, man. I appreciate you coming up here. So I was listening to a podcast done by called The Champs the other day, done by Neil Brennan, who was one of the dudes, along with Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Fucking with the Champs, which is a dope show. And they had MC Search on, and Search was talking about being in New York in the early '80s, and going to high school and seeing Dana Dane and Slick Rick do Lottie Dottie as a routine. Years before, this is like '82 and shit. Years before it would actually come out on record, and it made me think of you, in a sense. Not obviously not on the same level, but it's so crazy to me to think that Garfield High School basically produced the majority of the guys, in my mind, that kind of led Seattle's second wave of hip hop. Like everybody came from Garfield, and it. I am chagrined to say that a little bit as a Franklin High School graduate, because we had obviously poetry. Daryl Preston from Fat Mob, salute. My man Doomy, aka Dre's, was putting out music around the same time. But other than that, Franklin was kind of dry, I think, as far as I was aware of in the hip hop scene. Because everybody came from Garfield.
It's true.
So it's just crazy to me that that you would be there, and seeing kind of all that around, like at its real genesis point.
Yeah, it was a trip because I wasn't doing beats. I didn't even know what beats were necessarily. I knew we like this song, but I didn't know this person does the beat and this person. I knew what a DJ was.
Right.
Obviously, the rapper.
Right.
But I think it's just you see somebody in front of you doing it, and it's just like, oh, that's what that is, and for me, my freshman year, I only went there my freshman year, which is also kind of funny too. But
I thought you were there the whole time.
I only did 1 year at Garfield.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
1990, 91. So, I was super into hip hop, and this kid from Boston happened to move on my block on 24th and Valley. And we would catch the 48 to Garfield together, and we became cool, and that was H-Bomb. So
there it is. Shout out to Hussein.
Yeah, so we became like good friends, and he was the one that even put me up on they just go and get these records, and they just take this part, and then you just keep looping it, and then you can make a beat, and then you rap on it, and that was just that just totally blew my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember the first time it kind of occurred to me what sampling even was. It was hearing a tape that got passed around to me that had Isley Brothers Between the Sheets on it, and this was probably by '94-ish, comparatively late, and because my parents didn't play a lot of Isleys growing up, and you hear that loop, and it's like, oh shit, that's where this I remember I was driving down the bridge playing that tape, and I was like, well, hold up, I gotta rewind that part, and it was just such a trip to think, oh, this is what's happening.
Yeah, and that was really what happened. I don't even remember what the first record necessarily who's played me, but we just got into it. We would go to second time around, and I remember it was like, oh man, we got to get Parliament. Parliament has all the good samples on it. And I remember going to Parliament, and the dude being asking a second time, do you have Parliament? And the guy was like, you guys can't afford that, so just buy some other shit. So, you know, we went for the generic, you know, look for the cover with the biggest afro and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's kind of how we got into it. We started making our own little beats, and we used to like rap on them and everything. So that was more like just, you know, early on in the year.
Yeah.
And later on that year, when they had a talent show, was the first time I saw like Vitamin, and I guess it was Dame and B-Self was up there, and there might have been another guy or two in the group at that point. But I remember me and who's like, damn, they like have real songs, like,
Right.
and they were, you know, they might have been a year or two older than us, but not a lot.
Right.
So that's kind of part of why I think, you know, everybody came up in that circle around there, because we saw Vitamin, you know. And there was also another group at that time, Six in the Clip.
Yeah.
It was like a white group. I think they're from Montlake, and they were like seniors when I was a freshman, and I remember them like rapping at homecoming assembly, and there's a picture of it in the yearbook, and like, you know, people are doing electric slide and they're dancing to Funky Drummer, and it was just bugged out, you know what I mean? Like that really happened.
Right. Right. At Franklin, we had, oh man, I'm getting too old because I can't remember who all it was, but on the little in-school video system, we had some dudes that would do, they would basically do scenario, as if that was their own. And I mean, it was fresh because it's kind of like, oh, you know, these are, you know, you're performing, you know, even if you're bold enough to perform and you're just pantomiming other people's stuff,
yeah.
You know, like that's a whole nother step.
And, you know, I could even say before that, when I was in Meany, I remember seeing my boy Amos up there playing keys, doing the Axel Foley theme, and somebody came out and rapped. But it wasn't the same as like what Biden and those guys are doing, because that was the stuff I liked. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, that was more like kind of more novelty rap at that time. You know. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of a trip. So my dad ended up leaving our house that we lived in, so I moved with my mom in the north end. So I kind of like missed, you know, when I would come back, you know, every month or two and hang out with Hussein. And I remember him one day like playing me a song. Like he really made a song.
Right.
And that shit just blew me away.
Right.
And I still have that tape to this day.
Man,
it's like one of my favorite songs that he ever made.
Is it anything that ever came out?
No, it was a song called Kaboom. And it was just it was like a rap over his Quincy Jones beat, but it was actually really dope.
Well, I mean, H-Bomb,
he was definitely ahead of his time.
Yeah.
You know? Like he went from like just being with me and we were like nobody to like within a year he was rapping on everybody's song. He was like the guy everybody would get for features and all kind of stuff. The older dudes were sweating him. So
right.
You know, I was always proud of him that he made a mark like that, at least locally, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, you can't talk about H-Bomb without kind of acknowledging, you know, his kind of staccato flow. You know, and you know, when Top and I talked the other day, you know, he was kind of talking about how a lot of his influences were like Kool Keith and Ultra
East
Mag
Coast.
and that,
Oh man,
you know,
we used to fight over that.
all that
much.
kind of stuff. But you know, H-Bomb kind of was able to harness that. And still, I don't know, it's like still keep in the pocket to a certain extent. You know, like his flow was never so harsh and abrupt that you couldn't stay with him. You know what I mean?
He's the one that got me into like definitely Ultramagnetic. I didn't know what that was. He was all about that. I was more listening to like MC Pooh and stuff like that at the time, man.
I know you're a hella Bay Area.
I feel like we traded MC Pooh for Brand Nubian or something, but
that's a classic 90s trade.
It's a very random trade, but yeah, he was all about like the most. I mean, to me, Kool Keith was obscure at the time, and I ended up liking it a lot too. But I feel like he kind of turned me on to that sound, like, you know, the Pete Rock sound and all that kind of stuff, because I wasn't as into that at that time. But yeah, he was the dude, man. He had a little run there for a minute, and then he just kind of got into playing guitar and just didn't feel challenged by rap at a certain point. I think a lot of people go through that, you know.
Yeah, you know, that's got to be a weird phase, and I wonder if that's something that's especially symptomatic for MCs, where it's like, you know, you've kind of perfected your craft, and you're in the pocket and know what you want to try to do and how you're going to accomplish it and how you can present yourself the best way. But if the objective is, well, I need someone else's to kind of to validate what I'm doing, and you're not getting that again, especially in the '90s when what kind of avenues do you really have? That's got to be a tough spot to be
Yeah, it
in.
wasn't. I mean, I felt like it wasn't like a realistic view that anybody felt like they were gonna get signed. I remember when Ghetto Children got signed, I was like, wow, like they're gonna make it,
Right.
Like, I just remember thinking that, and for whatever reason it didn't work out, but that was even a huge deal that they even made it to that point to
Right.
us.
And they got signed to Geffen, right?
Yep, they had a. Mike Clark still got the contract.
Yeah, that's Mike Clark's Facebook page is
Mike Clark's amazing.
Is an absolute just a time machine. He's got so much dope material. And like that, like you said, the contract that they signed to get on Geffen, which in my mind seems like it would have been about the same time that the Roots.
They were. It was very, very close to the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hussein was H-Bomb was an ill dude. I remember coming to his house with Illmatic and him telling me it wasn't good. Like he was just like, he always had to be different.
Yeah.
And that's what made him a dope rapper. He had his own opinion about shit and was totally unwavering in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, he's just an individual, man. That's usually what the guys that are really great are.
For sure. It's crazy to think about a time when there was actually argument about Illmatic, like a legitimate argument. I remember. I think Illmatic came out at the same time Sony dropped it as Curious, that Constipated Monkey album, and Curious, if you never heard of him, like definitive kind of East Coast style cat. And I remember arguing with my man Wes in Law Society class, being like, yeah, that Curious is pretty dope. Like, it might be better than Illmatic. And Curious has joints. I love that album.
He did, but yeah.
But Illmatic is, of course, on another level.
Things, give things time, and they create their own legend sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
And that one, it felt like that was going on at the time, but over, the years, it seems like even 18-year-olds feel that way. So that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. So when you're kind of seeing all that pop off in Garfield, and you what H-Bomb is doing. At what point did you start collecting records and then making beats? Was it collecting records to make beats, or was it like something that you kind of slid into?
I initially got into samples. Like, oh man, I gotta find all these samples. Once I found out that's what it was, I was just obsessed with it. I just didn't care about nothing else. And I think I had a job at Taco Time that summer, and I saved up maybe like $500, and I just went and bought a sampler out like the Seattle Times 1 ads, and I did, I was doing it literally just because I wanted to, and I wasn't like trying to play beats for people or nothing. I probably didn't even play beats for people, so I was even out of high school, like really, because I just didn't feel like I just didn't have it at that point.
Right.
But then I got the right equipment, and things kind of came together, and I was at least decent.
Right.
But that was probably, 92 I was doing that when I moved to Mount Lake Terrace, and the first year I played sports really hard because I was like, yeah, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to kill at basketball because I'm sorry.
Right.
But I was just all right at basketball, so that didn't actually work out.
That kind of false confidence.
Yeah, it totally, that was the Garfield thing too. We just thought we were better than everybody. But
yeah. I can't dish you because my only claim to fame is playing freshman basketball with Jason Terry, my freshman year at Franklin, and then I left because I needed to go work so I could afford 6x9s by my car instead of
the more important things.
Yeah. So I can't get on you for that.
So really, I feel like when I turned 16 and I got a car, that was when I went all the way in. I was like, I started driving. I'd drive to Everett and buy records or wherever I could, and I stopped playing sports and I just fully got into making beats, and that really became my thing. And over time, you just get better at things. But it was always, I always wanted the validation from the guys that I grew up wanting to be like Vitamin and guys like that, and Supreme later on. So
right,
it was just strange how my path was that I was there early, but I wasn't even part of none of that.
Yeah, that's funny because being able to kind of observe it from the outside, I think probably gives you a little bit of a real honest perspective, to be able to kind of observe oh, this is this is the quality material that cats, you know, in your general community are coming up with.
Yeah, no, it made me feel like I had to get to a certain level before I even wanted to play. I mean, I feel like I didn't even play beats for even H-Bomb until like way later, like, because I knew what he was working with. Like Topspin was really good, you know what I mean? Vitamin was really good,
Right.
And Supreme was really good because I
Right.
used to get beats from him too. And you know, I would just hear their shit and just be like, yep, I just got to keep going at it. But then I would hear every once in a while like, oh, I use that sample too. Maybe I'm on the right track, or you know, things like that.
Right.
Um,
Like you're following the right roadmap.
Yeah,
For,
yeah, totally. Or you know, I'd hear a song somebody put out. It was like, oh man, I know what that is. You know, it's
right.
kind of like your kind of like affirmation. You know, when you're first starting.
And are you starting to dig at the point where guys are already trying to capitalize on the sampling phenomenon, or?
I didn't even, you know, the thing was, I didn't hang around anybody else that did music like that. So I was just literally in my own world. It wasn't until my senior year in high school I actually went to Music Menu one day. I was staying at my dad's at the time. He had moved back. And I went over to Music Menu. I don't know why. They must have talked about it on KCMU. I remember going there in the 80s, but I didn't even know it was open again.
Right.
So I went there and I ran into a Milcar who, now what was his name in Tribal? He rapped in Tribal too.
I feel like I should know this.
He was in the Union of Opposites. But anyways, Milcar was like one of my best friends from elementary school.
Right.
And I hadn't seen him in years, so I happened to give him a beat tape. You know, I would go there and just hang out and talk to him.
Right.
And playing beats. And he played some of the beats for Supreme, and that's how I connected with him. And then basically from when I hung out with Supreme, that was when I went from like, you know, junior to, you know, I was in college with him. Like,
right.
I would literally hook up with him every day, and we would go buy records. That's all we did.
That's crazy.
Every day. Like, I don't even know how I graduated college because I was not trying. I was way more concerned with getting out of there and going to buy records.
That's so funny. You know, and that's that whole industry, like the digging industry, is so emblematic of things like post internet. Because pre-internet, if you want the Impeach the President drums, you got to go get that record. You know, if you want the big beat drums or any of that stuff, you know, you have to physically go get the joint, and
Totally.
that's kind of
that was a big part of the fun of it to me. I mean, it was interesting to just go out and, you know, come across things. I was talking to somebody about that recently. Like, I've been looking at records so long, like it's just not the same as like when I first listened to Grover Washington. It was like, oh shit, that's what that is, you know.
It's like, oh,
you know, you're just not gonna have those moments as you get older. But
yeah,
that initial discovery and all that, it just totally, you know, put the battery in my back, like,
yeah.
And you know, I didn't stop for a while, so it was crazy, man. And that's really how I actually got close with Vitamin, because I would run into him. We knew each other. We were cool. But I remember I ran into him at Orpheum one day. R.I.P. Orpheum.
Right.
But we were buying some records or whatever, and he was like, hey, you should come to the crib. And I had never even been to the pharmacy. This was probably like 94, 95.
Right.
And I remember looking at his records like, oh, man, he got the rares. With
Right.
the, you know, he's coming and all this stuff, and just being like, wow. And those were just his family crates. That was just stuff he got from his dad.
Right.
You know, he was fortunate to really have that. My dad had some good records, but it was mostly jazz.
Right.
Which I don't know.
For a period
I didn't
of
want to
time,
sample jazz like that for some reason. Like, he didn't have the kind of jazz I wanted to sample. I wanted the Fender Rhodes, and he had like the real, you know, spaced out Sun Ra kind of records, which
oh yeah,
I wasn't gonna do nothing with those back then.
Even during the era when it was like every Blue Note album got jacked.
Yeah,
heavy.
and I did get some of those from him, which was cool. You
Yeah.
know, that was definitely cool. But like, you know, going to Supreme's house first, I mean, Supreme record game was like stupid. Like, compared to even now, it's still stupid. Like, there's been times where I'll be somewhere and I'll see a record and I'm like, wow, I've only seen that at Danny's house before.
Right.
And I'll just buy it just because.
That's
Like,
a good
I gotta have
indicator.
that. Yeah,
Right.
I gotta have it. And for whatever reason, you know, Danny kind of really just took me under his wing. You know, like he was like, to me, he was super older than me, but he was only 8 years older than me. But at that time, I was like, oh man, he's an old ass man. You know what I mean?
He's
He
an
was like
old head.
27.
Right. Right. Not even 30. Oh, he's
yeah.
old.
He was like an OG to me at that time. So,
Yeah.
You know, it was just hanging out with all these different guys and just soaking up whatever it was that they had, you know, and just trying to get better.
Right.
And Vitamin, the thing I think people really don't know about D is that he was really just willing to help anybody, you know, like he was just that kind of dude. He would always, you know, let people come down there and work on beats or just even hang out and just see what was going on, you know. And you know, most people aren't like that. So like he was definitely responsible in me getting me to a point where I was even decent, you know.
Right.
He would give me all kind of tips and tricks and stuff.
Right. So by the time that they put out Do the Math, are you kind of back, kind of seeing all that happen?
Yeah, I was there when they did some of that for sure. Because I think that's when they first got the ADAT. That was like a big ass deal. Was it? Yeah. Because was that around the same time as 14 Fathoms Deep?
Well, 14 Fathoms was like a year. Like it seemed to me, it was like a year and a half later.
Okay, but
I think
it was definitely around that time.
Yeah.
That
you know, I
they
might
got
be
the
wrong. 14 Fathoms might have hit like at the end part of '96.
I know they recorded a bunch of stuff like way before that.
Yeah. Yeah, 14 Fathoms. Do the Math seemed just like a colossal statement record, you know. And yeah, it's got a lot of joints, you know. So I kind of wonder if some people look at it kind of like, what was a Wu-Tang album that had like 30 cuts on it?
You know, I think the biggest problem with that record and just the whole tribal idea, and it's fucked up, but it's just like there was it just needed to be about ghetto children. Like they just needed to go first. And, you know, when everybody's the same age trying to get on, it doesn't necessarily work that way. But to me, that was really the building block of tribal. And,
for sure.
You know, they were also coming off that deal thing, so who knows? You know, I was never in position to be like, you guys need to do this. But I just always thought, like, why? It should just be ghetto children right now.
Yeah.
But then Sensimilia was amazing, and Narcotic was amazing too. So, I mean, they all had their own things. But it just seems like in general things don't, you know, if you just look at rap historically, like things don't usually come from just like one compilation, you know?
Right.
Like I don't know who necessarily broke in off a compilation as a unit. I mean, I guess you'd call the first Wu-Tang album a Wu-Tang compilation, but it's
kind
really
of
more of a group album.
Yeah.
But, you know.
And I mean, I guess you could throw, you know, what NWA and the Posse is kind of like that. But if those are the two examples you can come up with out of like all of
there was a lot.
rap history,
there was a lot.
You know, nobody got off the Bloods and Crips album.
Yeah, I don't. Well, you know, Battle Cat produced some of that.
That's true. That's true.
He shined through on that, which is dope.
That's true.
But
you know, I always kind of think about the fact that, you know, you can take all of Tribal and they had basically one solo album that actually came out, and that's the Narcotic album.
Yeah.
I always think of that as just
which was tape only.
Right. Which is real indicative of just kind of the stumbling blocks, you know, financially and artistically to actually getting product out at that time.
It was not. I mean, I think that's obviously the biggest difference now, and not even just like that part of it, but just the recording process. So like to make something high quality, it just costs money to make records.
Right.
Once they got like the Narcotic album was done 4-track, I think. Most everything was 4-track, and then when ADAT came out, definitely became easier.
Right.
But then you still had to deal with pressing things up and, you know,
yeah,
all of that, which was a whole another task.
Yeah, you know,
not everybody had a couple $1,000s to just go to, man, what was that place? Protate Northwest or something like that.
Like in Ballard or something, right?
Yeah, they had one in Ballard and downtown, and you know, everybody just couldn't afford to do that. But guys had projects. That was the thing. Everybody had a project they were working that was almost done. I mean, Ghetto Children definitely had albums. They were demos at the time because that's what you weren't working on an album because your goal was to get signed. So it's like, I remember getting the $20 demo, and it's all like, you know, just handwritten. Ghetto Children, $20. And it was, you know, 6 songs or something.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I would imagine at this point there are probably enough Ghetto Children kind of Lucy's knocking around that you could put together like a real LP. I mean,
yeah,
if you,
I think the closest thing they probably had was kind of the period where they did like half on a meal and stuff like that, which was, I don't even remember what year that was, but there was like when they had the ADAT thing going and they were really consistently recording,
right,
there was pretty much a bulk of an album there, and it was a really dope album.
right,
But yeah, I think every city has, their ghetto children's and stuff like that.
for sure.
In tribal situations, because everybody was trying to get it at that point, and it was hard. You only had, I don't even know how many rap tapes were made, that were selling at Tower. It wasn't like, it wasn't a big section at that point.
Yeah, there was no local section, really. I mean,
No.
Really?
No.
I just wondered, like this literally just occurred to me, so this may be like a completely half-baked idea, but, I remember in the Bay Area scene, like in the, kind of mid-90s, it seemed like everybody had music coming out.
Oh, hell yeah.
And, and it kind of seemed like that was just, there was a machine there that allowed it to flourish. And that's how, like, the Herm Lewis albums get put out, and how,
they had the labels and distribution, so
yeah,
living down there for a little bit, I kind of saw the end of it. But like City Hall is a gigantic warehouse full of CDs,
right,
that they push out, and majority of them are from the Bay,
right.
So they were getting those things out, and then you had Intermittent Records and
right,
all these different labels that will at least pay for somebody to go to the studio.
Right.
They might have jerked them for their money or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's also just success. Like, he had Too Short, so people saw whoever put out Too Short made money. That was
Right,
money making enterprise. So you sent all these people out like, I want to be the next Too Short, or I want to be whatever it was.
Yeah, Dangerous Crew.
Yeah, Dangerous Crew. And then 40 comes, and then 40 was really the start of like everybody started rapping, because it was like, oh, I'm a hustler. That whole ideology came from 40. You know?
Yeah, he really
even up here, it totally hit up here in a different way.
Oh, I remember when the click tape dropped, you couldn't go outside at lunch and not hear Tire being stepped on.
And that shit just took over.
Yeah. And I kind of, I don't know. I'd have to really think about it, but it seemed like that was kind of the start of a real significant connection between Seattle and the Bay. Like, well, I guess Spice One even before that, maybe. I don't know.
I think we just always supported Bay shit. I don't really know why, because we're so far away. But Seattle was, even talking to guys down there later on, they were like, yeah, Seattle and Portland were our best markets, and Kansas City. For whatever reason, that was always like the Bay. You got to get hot out there, and everything else will fall into place.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So when when Supreme kind of takes you and is kind of like, getting involved with you, how soon after that did the Conmen tapes start coming out?
That was probably within a year or two.
Really?
And it would really just be, we were just buying records all the time and trying to find samples, and, obviously to make our own beats. And also just, we heard a tape by this dude named DJ Miro, who's in Japan.
Right.
And we heard that and we're like, oh man, this shit is so crazy. We gotta do something like this.
Yeah.
So that was kind of what sparked that whole idea. And we did, I don't even know, 5 volumes of them over the years, but it would just come to a point where we just, I'd find something and just put it aside, or he'd put it aside, and we'd go from there.
Those Conmen tapes are such a capsule, because you can just listen to them and kind of like compare the rap charts in my mind to, like, what other songs got used. It's like, oh, well, this is from there, and this is from there, and this is from there. Like, you guys were early on all that shit.
Well, and it wasn't like you could go online and find these things out.
Right.
So, everything I found either by just listening or talking to, like, homies of mine on the phone and other places that were in the same thing. There was, like, a network of us that were into it. And
this is all. That's the crazy thing to me about what it meant to dig for you guys at that point, because this is pre DJ Premier's famous "You're Violating Straight Up and Down."
Yeah.
It's before you had even super corny websites in the early internet where dudes are starting to, like, catalog samples.
Yeah.
And this is before that, so it's like, to my mind, it's like you guys just must have had to go into the store and just like, well, this has a dope cover, or I recognize the engineer here, or the drummer, and and I'm just gonna intake all of this data and try to find something fresh.
It was all of that, man. Like it was just, it was just fun, man. Like that's all I could really.
Yeah.
It was just something I really liked doing, and it was almost like I kind of had to get away from that before I became really good at making beats.
Really?
Stop caring about it as much, and more try to hear things from my own ear.
I dig that. But the beats, like you're working on Conmen, and at the same time, that's kind of, you're expanding your process and making music, though, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think around that time is when I started making beats pretty seriously, I guess.
Right.
Supreme and Shane and Strath just somehow got Sub Pop to give them money.
Right.
So it was like, oh, we got to put out some records, and I was just the one that was making beats at the time. So.
Right.
That was really how all that shit came together, and I never really even done songs for anybody, so that was like the first songs I really did with anybody in a studio and stuff like that.
That's funny. So you were basically like straight from bedroom producer to putting out 12 inches.
Like right before that, I went to the right before I met Danny. The first time I ever went to the studio was with Native Son and this guy Reese, and I think that was first we did a song at. Keek spot on 23rd and Cherry that was there. I don't even remember. C6 Studios, that's what it was called.
Yeah.
So I brought my Emacs in there. They were like, so you want to separate the beat? I was like, what's that? I had no idea.
Right.
I was like, I'll just press play and you guys record this, So we did that and it didn't work out all the way. And then we did another session at Let's Do It, which was really dope to me because that's where they did like Sideways and stuff like that for 40.
Right.
A bunch of shit was over there, and it was across from Meanie, which was really in my hood. So like that was really dope. But I remember being so nervous, like, because I didn't have a proper way to sequence, and I have to memorize the songs and the drops, and it was just.
That's funny.
It was a disaster.
It always kind of struck me how wild that would have been to just kind of come out with like. I make beats. It's like you're almost telling somebody like, well, I'm bringing like Frankenstein back to life at my house, and this is it's just a weird show and tell thing.
I mean, friends of mine like that I play basketball or baseball with or whatever, and they come over like, what is this shit? Like, what do you do? Girls would be like, what? I just didn't have time to explain to people that weren't interested because it didn't care. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it wasn't like I was like. I'm going to do this and show you guys, and
Correct.
I'm going to be right, and I'm going to be famous. It totally was not what I was thinking at all. I was just doing it because I just thought it was fun.
Right.
So, yeah, I went kind of really from being bedroom producer. Danny got the studio up on Boylston, and it was like, oh, we got to find rappers to record. So, he had this guy, Third Degree, who was like a military guy.
Right.
And, Danny always super East Coast centric with the kind of rappers he liked. So we would kind of butt our heads on that a little bit. But, he was the grown up and the one that knew what was going on. I was just there making beats, just literally throwing them against the wall. I didn't know.
Right.
So I produced some of those early things. That, Four Fifths were two kids that went to O'Day.
Right.
One of them used to write for The Flavor, my man DeLon.
Right.
And we did that. And then the first record that kind of, made a little bit of mark was the Cupfather record.
Okay, so we got to talk about that Cupfather record because that shit to me, because not knowing you from Adam at that point, like that Cupfather record and the remix.
The remix was definitely a good one.
That remix to me stands. I kind of put that in the same category as like Pete's "Shut 'Em Down" remix, Premier's remix for. Show in AG. I hold that remix in high regard. And actually, I have a prop, not a prop. This right
that's
here.
That's rare.
So here's story time. I had the 12-inch for that Cutfather record, and in my mind, I'm playing records on my parents' mega janky stereo. I don't have a tech. Like I got buckets. I got nothing, right? And I wanted like a clean like CD quality for like the archives because at that point it started to kind of sink in that it was like, oh, you need to start making sure that you have this stuff in good quality and and you keep it nice or whatever. And like a complete mark, I wrote an email to Conception, and I was like, "Yo, I bought the 12-inch. Are you guys ever gonna put this out on CD? Because like I'd really like to buy it, and can you help me out?" Like completely unsolicited. Shout out to whoever was working the mail.
That had to be Strath, because he was like a good person like that.
Yeah, the Conception Hip Hop Radio Mixes, which has the No Intro DZ remix right at the top, along with, that Eclipse My Position record, which is just so hard. And this is definitely one of like my favorite, most treasured things. So shout out to Strath and whoever was working the mailroom. That was really dope for looking out.
So yeah, basically like Cupfather came to town.
And he was a San Francisco guy?
He was from San Diego.
Okay, no, that's right. Yeah, Southeast ST.
He came
to
all the time. That's all he'll tell you about. He came to town and was DJing. I remember like, man, this dude is crazy. He's just screaming all the time. Like, he was hilarious. And the funny thing is, when he first came in, he was super underground. I remember just like playing the art bar the first night with this, and just playing the most like ridiculous underground shit that you just like, really, these girls are gonna be so mad. Like
underground West Coast stuff?
Not even East Coast, like Finsta Bundy and shit like that. Like, I just remember being baffled that he just had the nerve to do it. So anyways, we became friends. I always liked his voice and thought his voice was dope, and it's just confidence.
Yeah.
So,
because remember, kids, the rap voice is incredibly important.
That's the most important thing to me personally.
I mean, if you sound like a herb on the mic, just stop. Don't fool yourself. Don't waste your time, because it's so important.
That's why I don't rap, because I don't have a good voice. So, I had a 4-track in my house. Cupfather came over to my house. And I think my dad was asleep or something upstairs. And he did this song, Never Scared, like whispering constantly, because I was like, yo, you can't just be in here yelling. And that's how he ended up recording the song, period.
That's so funny.
The No Introduction song, I don't even remember the first version when we did that. I remember doing the remix with Ozrock. I basically had played him Fantastic One, because I just got it, and I was just like, this is the best shit ever.
Right.
And kind of came up with that just right off of hearing that.
I never connected those dots. That's crazy.
Yeah, so I had it really early. So yeah, we did that, and I put a bunch of scratches on there. It was fun. But that was all that stuff was just my first attempts at making records. Like, I listened to some of the mixes on some of those shit. It was just a disaster. Like, I really had no idea. I just was turning buttons and turning knobs. Until I thought it sounded cool.
Yeah, trying to make it hit the speakers, and that's kind of...
Yeah. And I actually worked on an album I was going to put out. There's maybe like 3 or 4 songs I did for that. Like, there's actually
Conception?
Yeah, there's a Ghetto Children song I did. I don't know where that is. It wasn't that great. My beat wasn't that great. Samson did a joint, which was thoroughly entertaining.
You could be from Nebraska, I'll still crush you. Shout out to Samson.
Yeah, so it was just kind of like, it was college for me and hip-hop wise too. Like, I was learning how to work with artists and even deal with that kind of stuff. And I was getting better at the same time. So that kind of fizzled out for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed, from an outsider's point of view, it seemed like Conception kind of was locally had the first opportunity to kind of like connect on the internet a little bit.
Totally. I mean, I really feel like if we would have put out one group and really like, and my thing was like, we should put out Ghetto Children. Nobody's putting them out. We have distribution. They have albums done.
Right.
And it got to the point that was going to happen, and then Sub Pop kind of just pulled the plug on the whole thing because we weren't selling shit. So, it's just another setback. But, from there, I really just was like, oh, I gotta get to bigger artists, and I gotta like get my beats out of Seattle, because nothing was really happening in Seattle. It's not like now where like there's all this town pride and all this shit. Like, everybody talks about these classic times in the 90s, but nobody was going to the shows really. Like, the only shows that would be kind of well attended would be like a Langston Hughes thing or something like that, and it would be the community coming out, and those were fun. Those were a lot of fun. But you didn't get 500 people coming to a local rap show.
Right.
It wasn't until I feel like Source of Labor was the first group to really get a crowd.
Yeah, I remember Source of Labor having shows like at up at Seattle Center, And there were decent, decent crowds there.
I mean, I saw Ghetto Children perform at Shoreline when I went there one time just at lunch.
Right.
I mean, that's some bizarre. It was shit like that would just happen, you know.
Right.
There might have been a Simpson Miller performance. I can't remember. Top was going there too at the time, so I don't. He might know that one better than me, but MC Class used to be in there performing. You would just, there just wasn't a respect for it on a local level. For whatever reason, it wasn't really necessarily the quality of music. It was more, I don't know. I just think everybody wanted to make their own shit, or who knows.
And the same limitations that I would assume that kind of prevent the music from getting outside of the city almost exist within the city. Perfect example of this. I saw on Facebook, like, I don't know, maybe a week, 2 weeks ago. I don't even remember what the conversation was, but my man Fleeta Party, salute to Fleeta, and Billy the Fridge got in this kind of weird argument. And I only bring this up, not that I'm interested in taking sides in any way, shape, or form, but it was interesting to me that Billy did not know who Fleeta was, and it's so, to me, it's indicative of how small but how separate this city can be sometimes, because if you're kind of off in your own kind of section over here, and again at that time, in the time when Fleeta was out with the early sport and life stuff or whatever, we kind of come back to the same thing again of like, well, what's the venue? And if there is no venue, then it's completely possible that he can be over here and Billy over here can be over there, and it's just like dudes don't even really have an understanding, To me, that just is. Well,
there was always like, there was guys doing rap in the North End and stuff like that, but we just didn't respect it. Even when I lived in Molly Terrace, I was like, just North End bullshit out of here. Like, that was just how I felt about it.
Right.
And I didn't even give it a chance. It was just me being a dick because, I was from the city.
Right.
And that's just how we felt.
Well, yeah, and I mean, we certainly wouldn't be the only place that had a very big,
that's city,
suburban, kind of stratification system.
Yeah, it's different now, obviously, but, I actually knew of Part 2 when he was in Shabazz. I want to say Palaces, but not Coalition. I actually bought their little tape. There was a song they had that I liked a lot, but I was just because I really cared. I think you had to really care.
Right.
You had to really put effort in to know these things. It wasn't like it was something that should be known necessarily.
Yeah. It's funny that.
So I can't blame like somebody from the next generation and not know who any of us are, because, we're just in it was a different time. Luckily I've been able to kind of be part of all these times.
Right. It is just, it's so crazy that to me. I recall a time where if you were going to be into hip hop and rap, and really you kind of had to make a decision. Like you're throwing your hat in the ring, and it's like I'm over here. I'm with this. I am not with this other stuff.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%.
And it's, you see nowadays, it's like the idea that hip hop and rap is a predominantly art form whose genesis is with people of color is just completely lost on people. The idea that you are kind of privileged to be able to participate is fucking lost. It's completely lost, because at this point it's disseminated. So there's rapping in commercials, and there's rapping.
It's just a popular thing of our culture. It's not even it was different. I mean, I really, I was there during the time where there was no white people at shows. I mean, that's just what it was.
Right.
I'm trying to think who the first white person I saw rap was. I felt like it might have been Prozac.
I don't know Prozac.
Prozac was a dude that was around in the early 90s, who ended up getting a deal on DreamWorks later on.
Awesome. Who
I worked with, that was a nice check, but and a good dude. I remember seeing him rap one time. I think it was the Off Ramp, but there was this dude, Art, who was in this group, Artist Guild. He was definitely like kind of a feared dude in general, and I think Prozac was like freestyling, and you just heard this like hella menacing voice like come over the PA like, get off the mic, white boy. And that's the kind of shit that used to happen. You know what I mean? Like, that was the normal. So, like, it wasn't, that's just what it was. You know, I grew up around a lot of black people because that's just where I lived.
Right.
So I was used to it. But if you weren't from that, that's some hard shit to deal with. It's discouraging as fuck, you know?
Right, for sure. For sure.
And I never wanted to be a rapper because I never want to be up there getting, you know, having any kind of conflict because that's just not me.
Right.
But it was, you know, even on the producer side, there was like, you know, it wasn't that many of them. It was trying to think of when I started who was around. Ben Saunders, B-Max, he was definitely an early DJ. Otto, you know, me and Bean.
Right.
And I don't really know who else we saw consistently.
Right.
You know, during those times. So it was just a different time, and you know, there's nothing wrong with it either way. You know, there was definitely a different kind of energy around the music, I think, that's not there anymore that I miss, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's
just things are just so much more safe in general.
Right.
Which shit, man, I'm 37 years old. I'm not trying to really be in the middle of some drama either.
No.
But, you know, like I went to the YG show a couple of weeks ago and I was like, wow, this kind of reminds how rap shows used to feel like some shit might really go down here. And it did.
There's something in the air.
But the energy of the kids and their excitement for the music is what I more miss. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
I just miss that kind of energy. So,
yeah, you know, and this is something that actually Serge touched on in that in the Chance podcast. You know, the difference between kids that are kind of invested in the culture, as opposed to just kind of like, you know, this is just going to be the soundtrack for us to just fuck off and party.
Yeah.
And you know, it's you can't change it. You know, it's gonna be what it's gonna be, but there's a discernible difference.
Well, I mean, you know, things become popular and they're just not as special. You know, when I was a kid taping K-Fox and stuff like that, that was just something you had to be a certain level of cool to even know about,
right.
You know, to do. And it took effort, which made you appreciate it more. Like, there's a million albums right now that I don't really have the interest in hearing. And maybe if I wasn't allowed to hear them, I'd want to hear them. I don't know. I couldn't even tell you. But
right. If you can't get it, well, it might be worth something. So, the conception era kind of quietly, or maybe not so quietly, kind of ends. And are you feeling like you're just kind of a free agent at that point, and just?
I just kind of knew, like, you know, Danny was like my big brother and everything in music, and I was just kind of like, it's time for me to try to do my own thing. Like, you know, he has his way of doing things, and I need to branch out and create my own networks and things like that. So the first thing I really did was I went to the Gavin convention, which is probably 1998. I went with him and Cutfather. Cutfather was selling weed, so he was a popular guy at this event. So he was giving my beat tapes to everybody.
Right.
Maybe made like 20 beat tapes for that, and I wish I had one of them because it would be fun to hear what's on it. But from that, you know, I probably got 10 people called me, which was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember High Tech called me. A couple other like people, I was like, wow, they like my shit. That was dope. One of the people called me was my first manager. And he was like, you know, he's like, you got some shit. You know, I think I could do something with this stuff. And he was based out of the Bay, but was in LA a lot.
Right.
And kind of from then, you know, he just got me moving, like,
getting placements.
Yeah, like Most Def bought a couple beats, and this person, you know, I did the John Cena thing around that time.
Right.
And it just kept building.
Thunderous horns.
Yeah, the thunderous horns. I don't make no money on. But that's a whole other story.
You know, yeah, I think I remember reading an interview with you where you kind of commented on that.
Yeah.
It's like, that's Vince McMahon getting
this shit is bittersweet, man.
Getting his jerk on.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Vince. Cut a check.
I was a kid.
Yeah.
You learn. But that kind of like, you know, him taking this stuff out and me getting the response I was getting made me feel like, wow, maybe I can do this. I started making a little money. But it still wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to make beats and I'm not getting a job or, you know, I'm not going to finish college. I did all that shit.
Right.
And things just kept building.
And I mean, at that point, are you thinking, that this kind of dream of being able to be solely an artist is even tangible, or is it just?
I wouldn't even necessarily say it was a dream for me because it wasn't something I expected at
Yeah.
all. When I first started, me and Hussein just wanted to be on local music spotlight.
Right.
That would have been,
Right.
to us, that would have been making it.
Right.
That was kind of the initial goal. Like, man, if we can get our shit played by Ness on local music spotlight,
Which is a big deal.
it was a big deal at the time because he only played one local song
Yeah.
every Sunday. So, over time, it just more and more things just kept happening. It was like, wow, man, I'm like getting, and I just started getting better. I really started figuring out what I was doing in the early 2000s, where I was like, all right, I'm like starting to get good.
Right.
And then it just, it kind of forced me into a career. It wasn't like I worked until 2006, I think.
Right.
And I had a couple platinum records by that point, but I just didn't trust it. And finally, financially, I got to a point where I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm just gonna quit.
Right.
And fucking 8 years later, I'm here.
That's such a pragmatic outlook at.
It's weird. I mean, most people are like, man, I know somebody a friend of mine that's a producer that sold his first beat for like $2,000 and literally flipped off everybody at his job and left.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
So
You're
like,
cool. Fuck you.
some people have that in them. That's not me. I've always been kind of a conservative person in general.
Right.
So.
Right. And did Rock Cocaine Flow, was that kind of like was that like a, all right.
I still had a job after that, man.
Yeah. If it was
I was still
06.
working. Yeah. I was still working. That was definitely, that year I did a song on G-Unit's album, and I had Rock Cocaine Flow, and I did another song on that album. But that was the first year I was like, wow, people were kind of like my shit. Like, I'm really, I remember going to New York, and I did this thing called Beat Society, and I played that beat, the Rock Cocaine Flow people, and it was like, felt like how whatever Tiesto or one of those guys feel when they're on stage, and everybody's just like, like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And all these people were like, oh man, I want to manage you, I want to give you a publishing deal. All these things were, people were just coming at me a mile a minute because they were like, oh, this kid's from Seattle, you probably don't have nothing. Yeah, let's take all this shit.
Yeah.
And eventually I found my way to my first kind of big time manager was this dude Shaw Money, who was basically ran the whole G Unit. And that was when I quit my job.
Right. And I mean, G Unit, it seemed like at that time was like a factory.
It was. So, I got on the first group album, G Unit, that did like 3 million. I wasn't even the biggest fan at that time. Like, when 50's album came out, it was one of those things that was so big, I just tried to hate on it because everybody else around me was liking it.
Right.
But then I was like, you know what, he's kind of good. Like, I'm tripping.
And the crazy thing is that, you see any of your DJ friends, like on a Saturday night, they'd be like, somebody's coming up and they're requesting a 50's birthday song.
Yeah.
to this day, that song has
still going.
legs.
It's still going. So, I connected with him, and he just had the same ear I had as far as what we liked, and he got me working on everything. I worked on a ton of shit during that time, and I kind of really found my footing, professionally in the industry, or what they call the industry,
right?
During that time, and that was really where I got my, I would say my professional start.
Right. It's it's so funny to think about that time because you kind of end up at the that kind of second wave, and then watching your boom bap projects and Blue Scholars and Macklemore and all those guys kind of take off, and I it seemed to me in around that time that those guys all made a concerted effort to try to use this post-internet vehicle to connect and get out of the city a little bit. Like they weren't.
I don't even think they knew what they were doing. Like, I mean, for instance, Boom Bap Project, I'll never forget this because it's just, for some reason, I was thinking about it the other day. I remember I was working at the post office on Broadway. I was getting off my shift, and my homie Zach was with this dude Kareem.
Right.
And Kareem was a rapper from Boom Bap Project, and he's like, yeah, it's my boy Kareem. He raps and stuff, and you guys should do some songs. I was like, all right, cool. What are you guys paying? At that time I was like, I need my $300 a beat or whatever,
Right.
whatever it was.
Right.
And we connected. I think I like got hurt on the job or something, so I got unemployment.
There you go.
And me and Kareem just got tight. So I was, I'd make beats and then go over his house and play Dreamcast or whatever the fuck it was at that time.
Dreamcast was hot. Was it like NBA or NFL 2K1?
Something like that.
With the controller, it had the screen inside, so your homeboys couldn't cheat on the plays you were picking.
That was filthy.
That was huge.
So I did some records with them. Those guys were just go-getters, man. They would go out of town and do stuff like that, whereas the generation before just wasn't on that. Or, maybe they didn't have the finances to do it or whatever. They pressed vinyl kind of early.
Right.
They definitely just went after it. Blue Scholars came, I don't even remember what year that was, but I knew Matsui, who was their manager, and he pushed it on me, and I was like, yeah, it's cool. But I saw like all these kids were just into that shit.
Right.
It just hit a whole different demographic, like, and they were just speaking to more like the regular Seattle person,
Yeah, it's so crazy to me that there's within probably like a 3 or 4 year window where you have groups in Seattle that, like you said, would put on shows and people would be there and really struggle to connect with an audience. In such a short time later, it's like that problem is eradicated, or maybe not eradicated, but it's much. It got way different. I mean, I felt like the Blue Scholars definitely kind of came up more like just what they were about. Kind of felt Source of Labor-ish to me. Yeah.
And they kind of were just like a younger version of it, and we're doing, some different things, obviously musically, but they really connected with that college crowd super hard, and they really kind of set the blueprint for what has happened, these last however many years to me, just what I've seen.
Right, for sure. For sure. So I'm trying to think of timeline when Vitamin's deal with Rhymesayers popped off.
That was probably
like 04,
something
03-ish.
Yeah, we went out there. A friend of ours, iSelf
Divine.
Yeah, iSelf Divine was down with those guys and played them some of our beats. So we went out there. We were like, man. I had heard Atmosphere, but I was not familiar at all.
Mm-hmm.
So they flew us out there, and we got in the studio with Ali and did some records. And this is before Ali's first album even came out.
Right.
And we were just kind of like, man, these guys are doing it. Like, why is nobody in Seattle doing it like this?
Right.
I remember just thinking that at the time, like, fuck, this is kind of similar. Like, Minnesota is looked at in the same way Seattle.
Yeah, where's hip hop in Minnesota coming from?
But they just had shit going, and it was moving in a whole different way than it was here at that time.
And were they in a situation almost like in the Bay where they had a machine that was like?
No, they were literally the machine. They pressed
grinding
everything themselves. They had their own record store. It was all them. They had a building. It was just like it was big shit.
Right.
So Vitamin had been kicking around. He's always working on something. He has songs he's working on right now.
Right.
Because he just likes doing music. So he had this like 5 or 6 song thing. I don't even remember what it was called. And No Good was on there and a couple other songs. And that was kind of where he put that together.
Right.
And they put it out. No Good was such a good song, man. Like,
No Good's a great record. It's one of those, it's like around the same time, Camp Low put out some stuff, like early 2000 shit, and it's just like you listen to it and it's like, oh well, this is a hit record. This is a hit record, and then for whatever reason that doesn't happen, and it's it's like we were talking about earlier, like making it and putting out records that come out at a time where they're able to kind of sync up with where people are. It's the Powerball.
Yeah,
almost.
Timing is the hardest thing. You just don't really know. Some people get lucky with it. Some people are always unlucky with it. But, I think the one problem is, like, he does that record, which was an amazing record, but then he didn't follow up. because he was producing a bunch of other shit. You know,
Right.
like Vitamin's literally a working engineer, so he was always working on this thing and that thing. Probably a sporting life at the time. That was when he was in there.
For D Black and
Yeah,
and,
yeah, when those guys were kids.
right.
So yeah, that was about that time. And God, what did I do for them? I know I did a couple of like random 12-inch things, but they wanted me to do an album, so that's when I started putting that together.
So that was where White Van kind of sort of
A
started.
little after that, yeah, it was when I was doing all that stuff with G-Unit. I was just getting burnt out on chasing, like, you know, it's like having 50 decide like whether you're a success or not is kind of whack. Like, it just got old to me.
Right.
So I was like, I have all these other records. I want to put this kind of stuff out and not really care about how much it sells or anything. I just did that shit for me. It was just fun.
Well, and there was, it seemed like almost there was a G-Unit sound.
Totally. And the shit I did on that album was not that.
Right.
at all.
Right. No, the Doom records are not G-Unit records.
No. But, the funny thing is, when I dropped that, which I guess was 2008, I went to the office and I saw Banks and I was like, I did this album. I want to give it to you. He's like, oh, I already got that shit. I rapped on all the beats. So like they didn't care. They just wanted the new beats.
Yeah.
He really rapped on like 7 of those beats on a mixtape that came out the next week.
That's so funny. Yeah, because I mean that's mixtape again. That G-Unit machine, man. If they weren't pumping out retail releases, they were pumping out mixtapes
with
hard.
them, it was like their audience didn't fucking buy my album, so
right.
That was the perfect kind of shit for them. They love finding something that their crowd didn't know about, and they would just do their own version to it.
Right.
50 used to look for that kind of shit in particular.
Yeah, because I mean because I know that he hit Rock Cocaine Flow, and I'm trying to remember.
He did, and he wanted to use that on his album. He wanted to use that on the Massacre, and I told him like it's already De La Soul's song, and they were just totally like he really didn't care. But the crazy thing is, when I went to New York and that song was out, people were telling me like, "Oh man, congratulations on that 50 song! Like the De La song didn't exist."
That's crazy.
So, it's funny how it's all depending on who's listening.
Yeah, for sure. And things can be so incredibly insular. Like if you're not plugged into, the type of people they're going to put you up on White Van music, then yeah, that's a 50 Cent song. Because
it is, and that's fine, like whatever. But
yeah.
I never looked at it like it was anybody's shit. I just did the shit I liked, and whoever gravitated towards, and that's where it ended up.
Right.
And I think that's how I've survived. Is I don't really necessarily jump right in one thing. I'm not like, oh, I'm holding the flag for the underground or the mainstream.
Right. Well, and it's interesting. The Tuxedo stuff. That doesn't sound like Rock Cocaine.
No, that's like a whole... I mean, I really started doing those because I just would get burnt out on doing rap because that's like how I make my living and pay my bills. So like, there's just a different kind of pressure with rap because that's what I've done for all these years and made it. So I was just doing those for fun, and me and Mayer connected before he was even Mayer, and he had a similar love for the stuff, and that was kind of where that comes from. But to me, that's like just brings me back to the music I listened to before rap existed, really. Like being in the Valley, and that's what they were playing. They were playing Cameo and stuff like that.
I mean, the funk on those Tuxedo records is so heavy. That's
what we were going for. So like, it's just bring me back to the stuff I used to listen to when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's dope, man. And is that kind of the 3-song joint? Is that still officially alive anywhere?
Yeah, it's still on SoundCloud.
Okay. Go get that Tuxedo. And actually, when we talk about other things that you're doing right now, touching on is the Snare Jordan.
Snare Jordan's been a nice nice little enterprise.
Which is so that's so 2014 shit too.
It is
because what we were talking before, if you want if you want the substitution drums, you got to go get that record, and then that's, or you can try to sample off of something that's open somewhere else. But nowadays, you as a producer are able to say, well, this is my product, and I'm going to monetize it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a dope thing of being able to harness, your availability like that is completely an internet thing.
It's amazing, man. Honestly, I was never thinking about even doing it. I used to be like, man, fuck that. I ain't giving people my sounds. But my boy Illmind he just is like a fucking beast on like the marketing and all this stuff. Like,
right.
And I had a talk with him one day, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm doing it. So, I put drums on there that I used on songs, partly just to make me not use them as much. Like,
yeah,
I feel like that was also kind of a good little byproduct and made me come up with some new shit.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Like, if that kind of transition, it's like, well, I'm going to kind of put this sound away. Is it that, if that kind of...
It is and it isn't, because I could always go back to it whenever I want to.
Nobody's going to say shit. It's like if Ninth Wonder uses a Ninth Wonder snare.
That's his thing, you know? So, like, it's just a trip to me how much... I don't know, like, I've heard so many songs with it already, like, some really bad, some good, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
But it also kind of made me confident, like, when I would hear what people were doing with it, good or bad, I was like, that's still not my shit, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's what I was worried about at first. Then I realized, like, man, it's just my brain, like, I just hear things a certain way, and, you could give me Timberland sounds and I wouldn't be able to be Timberland, so it kind of goes that way with producers, but man, the support for it's been pretty phenomenal. I'm like been blown away by it.
That's what's up, man.
So I'm doing part 2, working on that right now, and I think the videos were definitely a big seller for it, because just showing how I applied them to certain songs, just knowing how many kids look at stuff like that, and they're looking for, to figure out what we're doing.
Yeah, that they're looking for guidance. So it's like, compare you doing, bedroom production and kind of coming to understand, I can sample things, back in that era to now, cats utilizing technology to like, well, this is a guy I look up to production wise, and he's accessible to me.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge thing. But that also to me kind of comes back to what you guys did with Red Bull Big Tune.
Yeah, totally. Because when and I think it makes people from my generation have a certain thing that younger guys don't necessarily have, because we literally had to do all that discovering with our ears.
Right.
But something like Big Tune was dope because you just put people that were all bedroom producers on a stage, and you just never knew what the fuck was gonna happen.
Right.
Like sometimes it would go so bad, but it would be entertaining. And then sometimes a kid would literally become a star for that night.
Right.
That was just totally not expecting that.
Right. I remember, was it the one here that Sabzi killed at?
Sabzi probably was one of the best that I ever saw do it. He just had a certain way of arranging his stuff.
Yeah.
And building tension with it, that he just slaughtered people, man. Like he was really difficult to handle in those situations, and he's because he's a smart dude. He knows he would set people up with shit. He would come in with something super soft,
right?
And he'd be like, "Oh, what is this bullshit?" And then something hard would come on, and it would fuck the whole crowd up,
right?
But yeah, the legacy of it's been pretty amazing. We've had a lot of kids that have gone on to do, a lot of big shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at production credits nowadays and just kind of scan through them. It's like, I remember him from Big Tune Denver, and I remember him from Big,
A lot of them came through the program, so that was, a really cool thing to be a part of. It was good for me and Dee to just be around that young energy, and I still,
because you guys would go in and do like, clinics is probably the wrong word, but you would go.
We would kind of do like I don't know, like I guess you would call it like a little workshop kind of thing, where we'd make a beat in front of them and kind of explain our process, right. And what we were thinking when we did certain things, and that was a lot of fun. We did that all around the country, so I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's been a minute since we've done it, so it's like, it seems like a whole different time, but it was definitely a really cool thing to be a part of. Who knows, it might come back one day, but that was really Vitamin, man. That was all him. It was his idea. And, you know, Red Bull just happened to be in town from a national perspective. Like, they had their people here for the Music Academy, and they saw it, and they were just like, oh, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So we did it 4 years around the country. But I really, it makes me feel good when I see, you know, Swifty or S1 or, you know, Ryan Lewis or, you know, all these guys that came through our program and, you know, are doing really big shit.
Right, for sure. Do you think that we're kind of like in a fourth phase of Seattle hip hop at this point nowadays, with like your Nachos and Cloud Nices and you know Sax G? You know, it seems like there's getting to be a real diversification of the sound, that we're almost in kind of another era, because those cats are and Porter Ray.
Yeah, Porter
motherfucking Ray. Oh my God.
Porter definitely could have been on Tribal.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, definitely could have been on Tribal.
That was the first thing that I think I said to Top when I got put on that. Is that cat has all of like the 90s sensibilities just locked down.
He just raps about young shit, which is what he should. He should rap about what he goes through.
Right.
Which makes it dope.
Right.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's cool seeing these guys have a chance, like a real chance at making it. Shit, I know of a guy that just got signed in a week or two from here, you know, another local rapper, getting major label deal. And, you know, that shit just wasn't a real possibility before. So we're definitely in a different place. I mean, to me, Nacho's a star. He just, you know, things just have to all the way connect, but he's got it.
Yeah.
I mean, I see kids crying at his shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, if you get that going on a local level, you're doing it.
Yeah, I heard when I heard that Status record with him and Jarv, that was the one that kind of really opened my eyes to be like, oh yeah,
he's just a real personality and character, and
Yeah.
I think that's something the city hasn't always had. We've always been kind of like I know like a lot of the criticism of rap in the past from here is like, oh man, why are these guys always whispering and shit? You know, like
vocals kind of deep in the mix.
Yeah, you know, it's like, but it's Seattle, man. We're kind of chill and laid back in general. But these guys, they're not that. So
yeah,
it's cool that they're kind of, you know, bringing their own thing.
Yeah,
and that they have a chance. You know, like I really do feel like all these guys have a chance to do something special.
For sure, because the product is there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can say almost unilaterally that, you know, all those guys that I'm, you know, talking about. I mean, BFA, those guys are, you know, really young, and products there.
And it's also they're just, I think when you see somebody in front of you do it, it just seems a lot more realistic.
Right.
That it's a possibility. Like that was the one thing I think we struggled with in the 90s is Mix-a-Lot did it, but it was kind of a generation before us, and none of us were close to Mix-a-Lot, so it's not like we could see and touch him and ask him or talk to him.
Right.
You know, me and Vida have been here the whole time. You know, Macklemore is still around.
Right.
So it's like you see these people and you see them accomplishing things, and it makes you feel like, oh man, I could do this. It's really, to me, I liken it just with the basketball thing. Like Jamal made it, Jason made it, and then all these kids that came up,
floodgates open.
Yeah, they helped them. You know, they were like, you can come play with me and you can get better. And, you know, we've tried to do that over the years. It just hasn't always worked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like it's starting to work out, and that feels good, you know?
For sure. And, you know, and I keep coming back to the same thing, that it's like, you know, trying to put out rap music, especially a Seattle brand of rap music in the shadow of the grunge era. You know, that's kind of a tall order.
I mean, that shit was impossible. I mean,
yeah.
And it's funny because, you know, I have family that was involved in the grunge scene, but I didn't care about rock music. So like, I mean, I understood it was big, but I just didn't care. You know what I mean? To me, that shit was just whatever. You know?
Right, and it's the same era where it's like, I'm not fucking with that because my allegiances are over here.
I was always on some like, it's hip hop or fuck everything else. You know, like.
Yep.
And my mind still thinks that way sometimes, which is bad for business sometimes. But you know, I am who I am, you know?
Yeah. It's funny to think of like, you know, I've never listened to a single Nirvana LP in my life.
See, I feel like
I never.
It's one of those things that I'm sure I've heard just because it was so big. But yeah, it's not something I own or I play on my own. And it's not like it isn't good. It's good. It just wasn't for me. You know?
Yeah, but for me the trip was like listening to something like Zeppelin. I didn't get into Zeppelin until like I was like out of college, and then you start hearing, especially from a hip hop informed perspective, all the stuff that got pulled out of Zeppelin. It's like, oh, okay, so levee break drums, I get it.
Yeah,
I know.
It's hard.
Whew, monstrous,
it's
absolutely hard. Monstrous. Man, so one of the things that Top and I had talked about is I think what hopefully will be a natural outshoot from the podcast here is assembling some more music from this kind of this 90s era, and putting it in a place where it's accessible to people. And I'm probably gonna try to get in your ear a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I know, like we were talking about before, it's like Mike Clark. Shout out to Mike. Has the deepest local hip hop crates of I think anybody anybody knows.
I think so.
And I would suspect that you're probably number 2.
Because I mean, I got some stuff. I definitely got some things.
Yeah.
I've been making an effort to try to, get with dudes that I haven't seen in years. I actually got with my man Glaze One. He used to have a studio way back that produced the DMS album and.
Ooh, the DMS record. Ooh.
Yeah, things from that era.
Sunshine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a monster record.
So like, I actually reconnected with him. We've been trying to. I'm trying to get whatever I can, man. I just feel like all that shit's still so interesting to me, and I really want to get more of the things before my time. Like the 80s stuff, because it just wasn't really available. So kind of trying to go about doing that. A lot of it is more things that happen on a live level, unfortunately. So it's stuff is a little more scarce. But yeah, no, I definitely care about it a lot, and it's something that I think is really important, for people to know about.
Yeah, and I always have kind of this hesitation in the back of my mind that people think that it's like, oh, well, you're trying to make tribal fly in 2014, and that's not really, at least from my outsider point of view, that's not really the goal. The goal is just to be like, use internet and use technology so we can properly acknowledge something that definitively happened in the town.
Yeah. Definitely.
And if it was whack, nobody would care. But it's good. And that's the thing. Is it's good, and if we can find an avenue and an outlet for it and get people exposed to it, more power to us. Especially when you have a guy like Macklemore who is all Seattle everything.
Yeah.
And people are kind of looking for it, and it's like, well, the scene. Just no disrespect to him whatsoever. The scene doesn't begin and end with him, though.
No.
We've been doing it.
No, he wouldn't. He would tell you the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, that guy, goes out of his way to drop, little bars here and there that are completely, sometimes overtly and sometimes covertly acknowledging here.
Yeah,
So,
he's a product of it. I mean, that's the thing. You can't, no matter what anybody feels about him, he's paid more dues than any of these motherfuckers anyway, so they can't really say shit to him anyway.
Right. How you feel about the Seahawks game on Sunday?
I'm nervous, but I don't know how the narrative turned into we're the underdog, because that's some bullshit. I don't see that.
Yeah, how are we the underdog with the best defense in the league?
And we smashed the shit out of them. Like, I think it's gonna be a close game.
Yeah.
That feels good. I mean, this is what we wanted. We wanted a home game against them.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know if I've ever really cared this much about a game in a long time, so that part of it's kind of scary. I'm trying not to
I don't
go berserk and shit.
I don't know that I cared as much when we were in the Super Bowl. I mean,
that team didn't have the same kind of personality and didn't play with the same kind of flair that these guys do.
Yeah.
And I always hated Holmgren as a coach, and I really love just the way Pete doesn't coach scared, so it's like, it's really the anti-Holmgren experience.
No third down draw plays.
Yeah, we're not going to have a 3rd and 4, fullback screen to Max Strong. Those days are over. So
Yeah.
you know, I do. I don't know. I just think if we win a title, it's gonna make people feel so good. So that's what we need. We deserve that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've never been anywhere else. I haven't hardly traveled at all. Like I've been in the town since 1977, but I think this place rallies behind teams in a way that other places, you know, it's just like it's everything to everybody, and it's like,
We're just
you know,
so
I throw
desperate for winter right now. Like it's just, I mean, the Huskies won in '91, and then that's it. Like I mean, it's been, what year was that? That's 23 years ago.
Yep.
So like, it's time. I mean, even if they're going to be in contention for a minute, so I'm looking at like I want 3.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere for a while, especially because you can feel confident for once that that the guys behind the scenes with the Seahawks know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
they got us to this place, and it's incredible. I mean,
I described it to somebody as being confidently nervous. It's like I can't as a lifelong Seahawk fan, you can't help but be nervous just because.
I mean, yeah,
you know,
I mean, it's
the
not
Testaverde, you know, like
Testaverde 3 yards short for the touchdown.
Yeah, you know, shit like that kind of lays in the back of my mind, but at the front of my mind, it's like, oh, we got the best defense in the league, we got the best young quarterback in the league. We may have, I don't know if you'd say the best running back in the league, but like, you know, last weekend the way that Marshawn was running the ball.
Yeah. Definitely one of them.
Yeah, for sure.
It's you know, it's exciting, scary, all these things. It's just crazy how much it means to all of us.
Yeah.
But you know, I really do feel like if we play our game, we're gonna win. I mean, I really do believe that. I think Kaepernick will fuck up because he does in this environment.
Homeboy has a history of making some sketchy decisions under pressure.
And we're gonna get to him, you know. I felt like that game that we played against them that we lost was gave me more confidence because they needed everything to win that game, and it didn't even matter that much to us, and it was down there. I feel like
we almost beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, well, we can probably wrap this thing up close to the hour and a half mark. So we are the Do the Math podcast, and of course I'm going to give the usual disclaimer because Do the Math podcast is one character too long for Twitter. We are Do the Math Show because I'm not trying to confuse people that way. Again, thank you, sir, for coming by. Hell appreciate it,
man. I love what you're doing here.
Yeah, we're trying to, you know, we've got some other things lined up with some other local cats that are going to be happening soon, and we're going to keep bringing them to you. I am at Devin Morgan. That's at Jake Uno. For music that we've talked about on this show, you can source a lot of it. Well, you're just going to have to get your Google on. For some of these things, like those Conmen tapes.
Those are out there, yeah.
They kind of float around. I don't have physical copies, but I have digital ones that I have backed up in very secure places, so I can't lose them. But a lot of the tribal stuff we talk about, you can find at triballegacy.bandcamp.com. They can get the links and stuff for Snare Jordan off your Twitter.
Yep.
Go cop that, and that's where we are. So, good evening. Peace out.
Five come to the tribal dum dum.